it's springtime, and let's start with Williamston's events coming up between now and the summer. I know y'all got a lot. I've seen a lot of things going on over here.
Sure, yeah, we got a lot going on. Working with Envision Williamston and the Business Association. May the 13th through the 14th, we'll have our annual Pig in the Park. That's a two-day event with the big festivities going on Saturday on the 14th.
People that haven't been to that, tell them what to expect.
All right, so number one, it's sponsored by the Williamston Masonic Lodge, and what you will have is a ton of competitors that will actually come out and compete. Everything from Boston butt to ribs, a rib competition. And when you come out, you pay one fee, and then you're able to get a sampling cup that you can go around and get as many samples you want to from as many of those competitors you want to. And I believe this year they're going to have a taster's choice as well, so you'll be able to actually help to judge in that competition. So I think last I heard they had 14 teams signed up, and I think they can have up to 20. And that was just a couple weeks ago, so it's booking up pretty quickly.
And that usually brings a pretty big crowd, right?
It brings a very good crowd, and all the proceeds benefits local charities, so the food banks and stuff like that in our area, they benefit. The Christian Learning Center also benefits from it. So y'all come out May the 13th and 14th for Pig in the Park. We'll have a nice time there. And then on the 19th through the 29th, we'll also have our Spring Fling, and this year's a little bit different. This will be brand new, something we've never done in Williamston. Obviously, we now have a fairly empty shopping center where Ace and Winn-Dixie was at. Ace has gotten moved into their new store, by the way, so that shopping center is vacant with the exception of Raines and MVP Pizza. So this year, we're actually going to have a bunch of rides. I think he's going to bring out 12 rides, and they'll be out there for about 2 weeks. With a fair going on here in the heart of Williamston at Town Square Shopping Center. So we're super excited about that. It's the first time we've ever done it. The same group actually did the rides at Christmas time in the park, so it was a win-win for everybody. It actually generated a little bit of revenue for the town to help us buy additional Christmas decorations this year for the park. We have done quite a few upgrades, so we've put in a brand new fire pit. And I know people have heard we got pickleball coming, and pickleball is coming. I talked with the contractor last week, and he's telling me a 3-week timeline of when they'll come in to go ahead and get started on the construction. The issue was to begin with, when they started to come out and start to do the grading and milling up of the old tennis courts, they ran into some soil issues where the water table is obviously very high in that area, and we've had quite a bit of rain. So they're going to have to do some soil remediation prior to, so that delayed the project a little bit through the winter because they can't pave in the wintertime. They have to wait till you get, I believe it's 60 degree and rising temperatures for the courts to be perfect in the way we expect them to be. But that's also basketball courts too. So we took the goals down last week. We're getting brand new goals, we're getting brand new courts and everything. So it's something to be very, very excited about.
Are you a pickleball player?
I've never played pickleball. I've played tennis and I've played ping pong, and I've heard that it's kind of a cross between the two. And it's especially good for us geriatrics who maybe have back problems or knee problems. It's not quite as impactful as pickleball. So we're looking forward to that. And I know that pickleball is a hot thing right now. And I think we're going to have 8 courts out there, so maybe we'll start having some tournaments and stuff like that. We've done some clearing off up along the railroad track up there. We've obviously just the general maintenance stuff like that, electrical upgrades. We're still working on those type issues. Working with a local nonprofit to actually get the stage and amphitheater completely redone. The siding, batten board siding, some of the batten is starting to come off. It's been up since the late 80s, so it's time to start putting a little effort into that as well. So the new hardware store is on Hamilton Street over by Palmetto High School. If you turn on Hamilton Street, I believe that's actually Palmetto Road in that particular stretch. They have been super busy. It's convenient. It's a nice place to be able to turn in, easy out. When you walk up, the door opens for you. They got a large outdoor patio, a huge plant selection. This is the time to start doing your plants. So my wife and I actually paid a visit and bought a whole bunch of plants that I have got to get put in the ground this week. I think it's going to be a good time to get them planted. So we're very excited to see that growth. And with that comes Jim Simpson's the owner of Ace Hardware, comes his car museum. And we've been working on that extensively, and it is going to be something that the community can really be proud of, to be able to see his show cars. He's got some cars that you won't find anywhere else. So being able to come into Williamston while you shop and go over and visit the museum, I think that's going to be a treat for our community. There's a lot of growth. I get phone calls every single day, people asking, do you have property available, rental property, or property we can buy? Most people, they just want a lot to be able to build on. And those are going, what few are left are going very, very quickly.
Are you still adding houses and stuff?
We are. So give you a quick update. Saratoga Springs and Saratoga Villages, those are supposed to be starting construction. Matter of fact, I just got off the phone with a developer there, and they've got their DOT encroachment permits and the things they need to be able to get entrance in and out of that new subdivision. And we expect to see some construction here in the next 30 days, 30 to 90 days going on there. Mahaffey project, we're still working with that developer there. It's not nearly as close as Brock is. But we expect to see some movement on that pretty soon as well. The final thing they need on the Mahaffey project, which I believe is going to be around 60 to 90 homes, is council's approval. It's already passed planning commission, and so council, this is a little bit different. Since the city owns that property, we're going to be a little bit more stringent than what our actual zoning and planning allows for, because we think it's important. We know the community and what the community wants to see in that area, and one of the things they don't want to see is just a clear cut and row homes in. I think it's important we have green space and some other amenities that our community wants.
Have you and council made any final determinations what to do with the COVID relief money?
We've got a plan in place, but the plan basically took the vast majority of that money and put it into infrastructure. That's something that's been neglected for years, and I think that was the original intent of those funds. I think it's important that we still focus on that infrastructure. Technically, we could have taken the entire $2.1 million, unrestricted those funds, instead of using them for water and sewer infrastructure. We could use it to put in a community pool or something like that. That's really neat and that's great, and it's visual and it will bring people to town. The problem is that, like I said, we've kicked the can. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to be able to put in those necessary infrastructure upgrades, so we're working on that as we speak. Matter of fact, we had one construction started today, which is do some grouting of our old sewer lines. Those sewer lines, basically, they leak and they bring in stormwater, will come in. So what this equipment does, it actually goes in and will grout those seals without having to dig the line back up. So it's a very cost-effective way to make those necessary repairs. So that started actually today and will continue for about 3 months. So that's one of the things. And then we've got the sewer project that's basically going to take and replace the sewer line from the Williamston Fire Department all the way out to the wastewater treatment plant. And that's about a third of the town that flows through there. And one of the issues we have is during a heavy rain event, there's not enough fall in that line, and the line's not big enough to be able to hold it. So we're replacing that line in its entirety. That's $1 million, over $1 million in and of itself. The last thing we're focusing on is the Mill Village water line replacement, and that's going to be about $1.5 million, roughly thereabouts. It's a big project. The good thing is, it looks like that the state and the federal funds will actually come down, and we can use our funds as match money, as opposed to using the entire ARPA funds and applying that toward those projects. So, depending on the availability of those grants, and how successful we are in obtaining those grants, we may be able to have additional funds that we can use for the fun stuff, the things that are, for lack of a better term, that are sexy things that our community would like to see as well. I'm not opposed to that. I just know that the first thing we need to focus on is our infrastructure. We've neglected it far too long. We want growth. We want quality growth. We want good growth. But without these necessary upgrades, it's very hard for me to justify coming in and spending funding on new development when our people that have been here for years still suffer with the old pipes and stuff like that. So we can accomplish both at the same time thanks to those ARPA funds. 300,000 gallons a day of additional capacity that the county owned in our wastewater treatment plant. So the county was, we thank God to have good partners like the county working with us. They had no use for that capacity. But we, on the other hand, if we're going to continue to grow, we're going to need that capacity in the next 5 to 10 years. So having that additional capacity in our plant keeps us from having to expand at a very expensive expansion, probably for 20 years or so. So we're thinking ahead toward the future.
Where are you on the trail system and getting your part started over here?
All right, so we've submitted 2 grants. We've submitted an ARC grant and a PRT grant. One will fund phase 2 of the trail. Phase 1's already in place. It's there. You got concrete on the ground. Phase 2 will take us from the old water treatment plant down to Minor Street. All right, and that gives us, within a stone's throw of actually connecting to the school sidewalk system. Phase 3 will actually go out through the Veterans Park, crossover Mill, follow the creek line all the way out. We're hoping to go out to Mill Street. We don't know if we'll be able to have the funding to get that far, but that will extend it the opposite way. Both those 2 grants have been submitted. We have not gotten any notifications yet. Again, that may be some additional things we can use ARPA funds for. If it's a $1 million project and it's a 10% match, that's $100,000 we could unrestrict and use for that. So the biggest thing is taking those ARPA funds that are very necessary and a godsend, and being able to leverage those as much as we possibly can to get the most bang for our buck. In Williamston, they've compared us to TR. I've seen several articles, talk about TR 10 years ago. This is exactly where Williamston was at. Williamston was built during the horse and buggy days. So most of our places, our business stuff, they're right on Main Street. You don't have a whole bunch of additional parking. So without, be terribly costly and likely not to be able to come through and just raise the whole town and then rebuild the way it should be. So what we've got to do is focus on making our town more walkable. And I think the trail certainly accomplished that. The Brock subdivision actually has 25 parking places at the trailhead to be able to park, get out safely through a neighborhood, in a very nice neighborhood, and walk through and follow the creeks all the way up. I think it will not only economic enhancement, but certainly visual and enhancements to our community, as well as just people getting out and exercising. I think that's important as well. So it's just one more amenity that Williamston has to offer. So GPATS, we're a member, West Pelzer's a member, and Pelzer's a member of GPATS. They've already approved the connection between Depot, basically along Depot Road, to connect Williamston to Pelzer, West Pelzer, and ultimately to the Saluda River. You just have to find funding, but they have approved that in their overall walkable plan. You've got Armory Fitness. That's been a tremendous success. We have taken the old Armory that was given to us by the state. It was kind of in a state of disrepair. We put a little effort into it, a little bit of work into it. New HVAC, new heat, that type stuff, roof repairs. And now that's occupied by a gym called Armory Fitness. It's a private gym, and they lease that building from the town. Again, that generates additional revenue that's extremely helpful. We haven't raised taxes in quite a number of years, and so we've got to look at ways to generate revenue. 5 years ago, that loaf of bread didn't cost the same as it costs today, and even more so in the last 12 to 24 months. Inflation is pretty tough. So we face that as a municipality, just as you face that in your home budget. Recreation program has been phenomenal. We serve about 800 kids in our youth recreation program, and that's without soccer. This year, Palmetto Soccer Club used to run, it was a private entity, private 501c3, ran soccer. Well, this year, the town took that over, so that's an additional. I don't know how many they had sign up, but you can take 800 and just add to that. 10% of those kids are county residents or live in another jurisdiction, which means that our Williamston residents and our hospitality tax subsidizes that program pretty heavily. But our council, I think I speak on their behalf as well. We know that that's an important thing for the community. We're the only recreation program in the Tri-City area, and so it's a growing program. It's a program that gives kids things to do. Again, gets them out, keeps them healthy, gives them exercise, and not only that, it's a tremendous impact to our local economy. When you have ball games going on and things like that, our restaurants, they stay full anyway. But having that additional traffic of people coming into our town, again, they're enjoying our quality of life, our amenities we have to offer, and recreation is one of those amenities that we're proud to be able to offer to the Tri-City area. So we got a jazz series that's coming up, and they have not got an official date on those, but basically it's going to be like on a Thursday night, and so it's not terribly expensive, but it gives you something to do throughout the week, and those were tremendously popular, and I think they'll continue to be popular as we continue to offer those. And Roberta with Envision Williamston may could tell you more about that. I know Chief Taylor, that was one of his initiatives he was going to try to do. We've also got movie night in the park with the police department, so that'll be coming up pretty soon. Let me go back down our list. We got a few other things I want to talk about too. So on June the 9th, that's actually going to be our first jazz series, June the 9th. And again, that's sponsored by Envision Williamston and the Williamston Police Department. In July, on July the 2nd, we have our big annual Freedom Celebration. The fire department hosts a big car show in the Old Winn-Dixie parking lot. So we expect that'll be a huge turnout. This year, we got the same folks doing fireworks, but I've asked them to do a little bit better this year. I don't know how we're going to beat last year's, but we're going to work hard at it. August the 5th is going to be that national night out I was telling you, where we do we'll show a movie out in the park and have some popcorn, maybe some snow cones, that type of stuff. So obviously we've got a budget cycle coming up, so we're planning on starting to meet in April this month. And basically what we're going to do is sit down with council in a very informal setting in our conference room, get on the whiteboard and just start tossing ideas out there and then putting those in order of priority. And then we got to figure out ways to be able to make those things fit within budget. One of the things I know that we're going to focus on pretty heavily is taking care of our employees. Our employees, they work hard every day, and we want to make sure that we're able to keep and retain those employees, particularly in the police department. I think we start around $37,000, $38,000 a year, and you got highway patrol starting out at $49,000, $50,000 a year. That's a pretty drastic difference. And so I think if we're going to keep and retain the very best, we have to be able to compensate them accordingly. So that's one of our big initiatives I know we're going to be working on this year. Second will be some infrastructure upgrades. We did some of that this year. When I say infrastructure, I'm talking about town property. For example, the roof here at Town Hall has leaked for as long as I can remember, leaked pretty bad. So council, we were able to remove some funds out of reserves and spend, it was close to $600,000 to get the roof replaced at the police department and Town Hall. So we've got those type of upgrades. We've got to finish up some bathrooms in the park. I've been working on that personally myself. That's been a project that I've been tied up with, and that's add an additional set of restrooms. We have those set that's been out there at the entrance of the park for years, but they've been closed for 15, 20 years. And so council gave me a directive. They said, look, either build new restrooms or tear that one down. It doesn't need to be locked up all the time. It's an eyesore. And after some close examination of it, the structure there is in great shape. It just needs some updating. You know, it needs to be handicap accessible. It needs those type things. So I've been focused on that in all the spare time that I have. Been grinding floors and doing all kinds of stuff, removing the old paint, and we're actually going to epoxy the floors for makeup, to keep messes that are easy to clean up. New stalls going in, new toilets, new sinks, all that good stuff. So it's a lot of work, but I'm confident we can get it done for Spring Water Festival, which is the big event in the park we'll be having in August.